Here we go around again. It is time for some coffee. I'm not much of a singer, but I try. So, good morning, everyone. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Okay, good. Mute is off. I sometimes forget to do that. Anyhow, it is Saturday morning. How are you all doing today? And I'm not sure if anybody's here yet. I don't know, but I got my coffee. I'm a little bit low because I drank most of it because I do that. And but yeah, I am here. I am getting ready to get back on the road to head back to Colorado, and I have been itching. I've been in Atlanta for about 3 weeks, and now I am ready to get back. Real quick, I wanted to kind of just let you all know I will be here next weekend for a special Thanksgiving holiday, well, second Halloween um, presentation, Saturday and Sunday of next week. I will not be here tomorrow. I am doing a live painting at Soul Dance tomorrow morning over at Sycamore Chapel in Decatur. Um, so I won't be here tomorrow. So this is my last Atlanta show. Um, we'll be back in Colorado next Saturday. It may be snowing, so I may have some snow in the windows in the background. I usually like streaming a lot better from my studio because that's just kind of like my home base, and I've got all of the screens. When I'm in Atlanta and I'm traveling, I only have one screen, so it's kind of hard to keep track of everything on the live feed. I hope. I think my sound's coming good. Um, we will see. I've got some upgrades coming from season 2, which will be starting next month. Uh, my season kind of goes all year is a year long with basically just the winter, spring, summer, and fall editions. So um, we'll see where that goes. I finally feel like we've got the time set 11 a.m. every um, Saturday and Sunday. Well, not every Saturday and Sunday. I try to do at least one a Saturday or a Sunday, and if I can, I do both. So anyhow, I hope that all works out. So I wanted to share one thing. I've got something brand new that I just put up on the website, and I just wanted to kind of share with you. And that is, I have gift cards now on my website. So if you go to keithbrosick.com, I now have gift cards. If you want to share my artwork with anybody that you feel it would be a great gift for this season, please get them a gift card if you don't know what to get them. This way they can go on their own adventure. And I've got 30, 60, 125, 250, and 500 for you big patrons out there. So, something for everybody. It is a triple gift. And what I mean by that is that you will receive both the person that you purchase for will receive the gift card, and they'll get a link and a code that will be able to be used for any purchases in my web store. And then whichever tier that you buy, there's 5 tiers. Whichever tier you buy, the number is the number of stickers that you personally will receive as a gift for getting the gift card, and then it is a gift for me to be able to keep me doing this and keep this vessel floating downstream. So it's a gift for everybody, and it's very much appreciated, and I thank you for all of your support. So with that being said, let's get back to this is why I need multiple screens. Otherwise, I end up in this super massive rabbit hole like this. So, so I got that going for me. Anyhow, back to the show. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when I am doing the streams when I'm traveling with only the single monitor, because I don't get to do any sort of um, presentation stuff. I don't get to show stuff on the screen. I don't get to show images. I don't get to work on artwork while you are here, and it's just the Colorado studio is just a better setup. So anyhow, I have absolutely no idea what to talk about today. I was hoping somebody would come by, but I'm sure they will. Um, you know, uh, this video will be put up on my YouTube channel afterwards. So I'm just kind of filling dead air at the moment, but not really, because I'm not dead. I can tell this is already going to be one of the best shows ever. But no, it's hard to believe that this has now been a full year since I've been doing this creative coffee. Um, I only had one goal for the first year, and that was get comfortable doing it. Because streaming for me is just, it's always awkward. It's always felt awkward. I've been doing it for 4 years, and it still feels awkward. And at least now, after doing this a year and practicing every Saturday and Sunday when I can, I'm getting comfortable with it, and I'm learning, and I've gotten a lot of ideas for year two. My goal for year two is to be more consistent with it. So I don't really set the bar too high. I kind of let it sort of organically grow, and I don't try to overwhelm myself. I used to. I used to try to like sit, and I used to plan, and I used to script everything, but then it's just, it never felt comfortable. It always felt fake. It always felt scripted. But I my goal for this is creative coffee is to learn how to be able to just talk on the fly, to be able to improv everything. Not necessarily goofy improv, but just being able to carry the conversation on my own comfortably and naturally, and hopefully it's somewhat entertaining. I know um, sometimes we get into really, really, really good sort of focuses, and sometimes I kind of meander and I wander because I'm still learning this. Like everything, you gotta just do it. Just show up and do it, and you practice, and it gets better, and it gets comfortable, and getting past that comfort stage is the big key, and I think I've done that this year. It's because it's easy to do when you're in the mood to do it, but when you're not in the mood to do it is where it's tough. Where I wake up in the morning and I just I really don't want to be social. I just want to have my coffee. I just want to hide in my cave, and I don't want to be out there. But you know, it's it's good to learn how to be able to compartmentalize that when you need to show up. And being able to do that is a really, really good skill to learn. And then usually once I get started, I'm okay. It's always the first steps. It's always the start. It's always the leaping into the pool, um, and bracing yourself for the cold plunge, you know, that you've got to get better at. You just got to practice. And I feel like in the beginning part of this year when I first started doing this, there'd be times where I just like I'm not doing it, and I would just post, "Sorry, everybody, I'm not feeling well today. I need some space," But then what that does is it kind of loses the sense of consistency in it, and dependency on being able to show up. And I want to be consistent with it. And now that I'm comfortable, consistency is the goal for the second year. finally have a time that I am going to be doing this at, and it's going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Mountain. It is a time that works for both of my studios in Atlanta and Colorado, and we're going to roll with that, and I should be able to get more consistent. I want to do some more. I think I'm going to do a little bit more on branding. I'm going to get the YouTube page a little bit cleaner. I'm trying to get the sound a little bit better. And I've actually, on this trip to Atlanta, last time on the trip, I was using my webcam microphone, and it just kept giving me static. So I brought my nice blue microphone, and it's just such a beautiful microphone. And I don't have to know too much for it to work decently. So, but now, baby steps. It's all about baby steps, and just slowly taking your time and building it up. And I think I posted the story for Music of the Spheres. Another thing to mention is that I finally, for the first 4 books of the artwork and the stickers and magnets and all of that, I finally have all of the sort of summary stories for all of them that basically talk a little bit about what the painting is for and where the inspiration came from. So those are all up. They're pinned at the top of the Facebook page. They're going to be on my website. So right now I'm focusing on trying to get some decent sales for this holiday season because, here's the thing, and I want to kind of bring this up now is I want to thank everybody for your support this year, and I have stuff for sale on my website, but I have to make an apology because I'm not going to be able to give discount codes for purchases this holiday season. It's something I'm going to opt out of. I've had a lot of stuff this year where I've had to rework my entire website from scratch, and with the move to Colorado, I'm not going to be able to do discount codes for my artwork. So I hope that really doesn't affect my sales, because the problem with the discount codes is I'm the one that loses the money. I still have to pay for the advertising. I still have to pay for the hosting. I still have to pay for the materials and the shipping and all of that. And, I don't get to go and ask them for discounts. So the money comes from me. And there's only a certain small percentage that is in my prices that actually comes to me. So when the discounts come through, I have to do that. I use the money, but then I have all of these orders to fulfill, and then it doesn't actually all add up. The only other thing for me to do is raise my prices and then just pretend that you're saving stuff, but I'm not going to do that because I know there's a lot of people that will jack up their prices for the holiday season and then throw a discount for it. I can play that game. So what I do give you is all of my prices on my website have free shipping. Shipping's included in the fee for the price of the artwork, and I always give extras. I give extra prints, I give stickers, I give magnets. So whenever you place an order, you get extra gifts from me. So rather than doing a discount code for my store this year, I'm giving extras. Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate you. Thank you. I would love to, and thank you for the question. I love when people come in and they give me a direction. The biggest source of my inspiration comes from creation stories. I love hearing creation stories. Not just from the West, and not just religious. I love creation stories of art and fiction and science and religion and spirituality and just all of the different tribes from around the world that have come up with all these different fantastical stories about how we've come here. And what I love to do is draw my inspiration from that, and in sort of like the format that I use with all of my artwork is it's all interconnected. All of my paintings are interconnected with each other. And the idea is to try to relay to everybody and portray the creation stories from around the world in a way where it shows how all of like this finding the similar patterns and the similarities between them, and then being able to show that they're all kind of pointing us in the same direction. It's a way of kind of like unifying that, and that's where I draw a lot of the inspiration and the themes and the patterns and stuff that I paint with. I also am drawn to the mandala, which is what I started with in painting. Um, so I actually didn't start painting till I was 32. I came up through architecture, and I could sketch and I could do every stuff, but it was always with graphite pencil and all of that. Um, but I kind of had to learn how to paint on the fly when I was 32. So I kind of developed a process that kind of expedited the learning. And what kind of helped me in the beginning was the mandala sort of format, because it's all reflective all the way around, and it sort of gave me a playground to be able to practice and grow out of. And then I ultimately was able to do more sort of asymmetrical scenes from that. So a lot of my core process starts in the heart of a mandala and works outward from there. Um, you know, the when I have the blank canvas, there's what's called an armature, and an armature is sort of like a grid or a pattern, or just how you want the viewer to be able to, how you want the energy in the painting to flow. So with my architectural background, underneath all of these, I draft out a sort of framework. It's called, the proper term is called an armature, and then the painting goes on top of that, and then ultimately the armature gets hidden behind all of the painting. I sort of equate it to like the armature is a trellis, and then the paint becomes a vine that organically grows up the outside of it. Yeah, it's the painting is always, and I think this is for all artists, is a reflection of themselves. Like the canvas is a mirror to a lot of people, and um, it's a great vehicle for being able to explore the depths of your consciousness, to understand the trials and tribulations that we have deep inside there, trying to figure out where we are as a being and how we relate to the outside world. Um, the canvas is my therapy. The painting is therapy. It's a way of balancing emotions. It's a way of balancing yourself. And, I think one of the greatest gifts that we are given that isn't utilized, because, at least I grew up in you know, an educational system that didn't necessarily push the creative process. It was always something that was just kind of pushed off to the side, and it was never really respected. Um, and I think there was a great sadness to that, because that whole creative process can become the skill sets that you can give to especially young adults coming into the heavy bombardment of the emotional chaos of their teen years, where they can like explore those through their art and balance that. Like the gifts that we are given is we can take all the negativity that is thrown at us in the world, and rather than take that negativity and just bounce it right back out there and weaponize it and throw it back out into our environment, the same. can do some can be very damaging to both yourself and to those around you. But the ability to learn how to take that negativity as it's coming into you, and then being able to transform that into objects of beauty on the canvas. I worked through a lot, like painting when it came into my life in the early 30s. I was having some like going through my Saturn return and coming into like my late 20s. I had a lot of anger because I was coming into the realization that most of the stuff that was taught to me in my life and in my younger years was just bullshit. You know, it was just nonsense, and it wasn't the world that I like. What I was told was is the world that was out there for me to come out of the school into wasn't the world that I discovered was there, and I had to cope with that. And I had, you know, like, you have to kind of make your way through that. You have to kind of figure that self out on your own. So I had a lot of these anger issues that were sort of percolating up to the surface in my late 20s that I needed to do something with, and having the artwork that came in, it became the vehicle to be able to process that anger and to be able to work through it in a more constructive and creative way where it was taking that anger and transforming it into the artwork. And, I think that, like, the whole concept of art therapy, and I don't know, just like, because like art, when you say art therapy, then it starts making it very clinical and medicinal, which is fine in a sense, but it kind of becomes a little block to finding the natural path through it. And I think if we inspire like the younger people to be able to express themselves at an early age, and allow them to be vulnerable with it, because when you're first coming out into the creative scene, you have to be vulnerable because you're learning. I mean, there's a whole 10,000 hours that you have to go through, which equates to about 10 years, to where you start to feel like, okay, I got this now. Um, yeah, it's vibrational, like medicine and management, and it's 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 sad when it's kind of just brushed off to the side and just you know um, discounted for its value. But like, I mean, it transformed my life in my 30s, where at the end of my 20s I was miserable, and and not only that, I was just in an environment and in like the social realm where, like, back in my mid to late 20s, the only places that you can meet people to sort of socialize with and date was either the bars, work, or church, and that was it. And you know the um, the social networking really wasn't quite there yet and on the scene. And it was really, really hard to find my group of people. And ultimately, through the artwork and learning how to use the creative process to be able to process my anger, process what I was going through, I ultimately was able to find what we call the others. Through it, I was able to find other people, that were kind of following the same path that I was. And then in turn, it made my 30s so much more enjoyable. And then my 40s were just ecstatic. And now in my 50s, like, as long as I can keep my health under control, I feel like in my 50s, I finally figured out how to live in this world. You're going to make a children's book. That is fantastic. That is so important. And I like the intention that you're putting behind that, and to be able to, in a way and in a language, being able to express to children coming up the importance of that. Um, I myself ultimately, once, like, if you see the hexagons that I have been posting about, I've taken all of the artwork that I've done over the past 20 years and I've started putting it into the hexagon format. Ultimately, what I want to do, and this is why they're called books, is ultimately I want to create sort of a book that can be a cross between an adult book and a children's book. It's basically would be a book that you would like the parent can talk with the children and you kind of explore and learn together. Um, but yeah, I encourage you because we need more of that, and there can never be too much of that on the scene. Because like I'm not too familiar with the children's book realm, so I don't know where like the bar is at the moment. But it's just I believe that children's books need to be so informative and can be so integral to their early development and help them and give them the tools like that they can have as they're learning how to make their way in the world to be able to be like success, not just successful but just happy, and being able to handle because like you can't just be 100% happy. All right, it's we're we're a wave pattern, and we peak and we valley, and we peak and we valley, and we peak and we valley, and to be able to understand that and teach people, and especially children, that we're going to have those valleys and how to process those valleys so that they aren't as severe and we can flow through them. Oh yeah, I mean, not only with like kids these days, like know how to use a tablet and know how to draw on there, but like you know, just being able to work with patterns. It's like patterns and colors and textures are, I would say, are more important on the early stages of development than rather than fine tuning sort of like hyper realistic tendencies, which could because that can it's there's in the patterns and in the textures and the colors you can have a little bit of a playground for chaos to exist. And when you're learning, it's important to have that chaos because you can integrate that chaos that may you know into the pieces, and you don't get that sort of feedback loop of oh my god this looks terrible, because when you're working with textures and the patterns it's like chaos is very very important in that sort of sense. And you can just build up from that level and move forward through it and give that as a good solid foundation, and the fine tuning can come as you go further, because what's more important is getting the mind hand connection flowing properly and not letting sort of emotions or the psychology of oh my god this is terrible get in the way that keeps you from it. um, it's and that's the thing is especially with mandalas is they're patterns that are integral into the fabric of the cosmos, the way that the universe is created. And children are still unfettered by the baggage that we throw in society once they get to 7, 8 and into their teens. you know in that developing age they're still connected to that primal energy and they can tap into it, and we just need to make sure that they don't lose that connection. And to be able, because like one of the other reasons why I paint is that I can I can illustrate and communicate things I don't have words for. And when children are learning the language, they don't have the words to be able to express it, but they can, like, if you give them the tools to be able to do it creatively, they can, like, get more confidence in their forms of communication, which will ultimately transcend into their adult life and alleviate some of the issues that I think that we have discovered, by ignoring this on the fundamental and aspects of learning how to live in this world. I mean, trying to learn how to live in this world is a doozy on you psychologically. If I mean, it's this is a fantastic conversation, Robbie. Thank you for this. Thank you for listening and helping guide this. um, I otherwise I usually just talk with the wind and just have no idea where to go. But yeah, and teaching them to be vulnerable. You know, it's the worst thing you can tell a child is that is awful. You know, and um, I was lucky in the sense that I was born with a little bit of creativity that my grandfather caught on to when I was 3, 4, and 5 years old. And he had this wherewithal that I was really taking well to drawing and I was really taking well to patterns. And I owe a lot to him because he directed me towards architecture. He guided me and made sure that I had the tools and the toys that were focused on taking that skill set and being able to explore with them. And, you know, I am grateful that I had that and he encouraged it. And then also encouraged the learning of music and, all of that, you know. I mean, it's it's not only being able to give the kids the tools. What you're saying is so integral into the importance of where you come from, Robbie, where you are in that space where you need to be able to see with the children that you're working with. Okay, you are showing signs of this. How do I guide you in that? How do I give you the playground to be able to explore and develop, what you're expressing, and that is so valuable to them. I mean, you're going to affect so many lives moving forward, which is, I feel, so needed in the world today. Um, being like we're all meant to be creators. If you take the concept that we live in a created universe with a creator being, creator architect, or a primal mover of this universe, and we all are in acts of creation, then it is through promoting the processes of creation that you are most aligning with the intention of the universe and of why we are here, and not being a discord of destruction. And it's we tend to put everything on autopilot. We tend to put the teaching of our children on autopilot, and they'll just figure it out. Yeah, some do, but some get lost, and we need to guide them. And it's why we have language, it's why we have the tools that we do, you know. It's why mandalas were created. Mandalas were created because there was a large portion of the populations 2,000 years ago that did not have the ability to read. So the mandalas were created to be able to educate through image and pattern recognition, to be able to pass down these important ideas, and to be able to remember them so that you can pass them from generation to generation to generation. And that you know is fascinating that we as beings and animals on this planet were able to develop a way to communicate these ideas through generations, and that communication evolved with us, and it is still evolving. And it's a resource that isn't tapped into enough. I mean, it is come so far since when I was younger. Um, you know, they try. I mean, it it was try, but once you got into middle school and once you got into high school, you know, the creative process was tossed to the side. You know, it was more about just getting you through and and you know uh, teaching you what you're going to need to know to get a job, which is important. I understand, but so is learning how to process all of the chaotic garbage that is out there, and um, you know it's our education system across the board needs a complete overhaul for the 21st century. And it's about about teaching the fundamentals of how to live and how to be, including how to understand finance. Like finances is a whole another aspect of it. I mean, a lot of people look at money as evil, but no, but money has a root word moon, which is currency, which is flow, which is a form of energy, which is you're tapping into that river, and it is there. And if you learn how to tap into it properly, like as a mill does to the river to create the grain that you need, you know, like not pushing it off to the side as evil, but learning how to show people how that is a source of energy that you can draw off, that we can be able to give you the things that you need in life and sustain yourself, is another important aspect that needs to be taught. I luckily I'm in Aries. I am very happy that I was born in Aries, and in Aries has sort of the tendencies associated with it that we go in we don't have fear of jumping into the unknown. And I knew really, really, really young that the adults didn't know what they're talking. I think I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I was at a Sears Roebuck computer department talking to an adult about. I was 7 years old talking to them about computers at the Sears, and I'm like, like, can it do this? Can it do that? And like all of these ideas of what that computer can do is like, and like I remember the adult saying, like, you're not going to need that. It's not going to be for that. And I was just like, I just remember at 7 years old looking up at this 40-year-old salesperson at Sears, and I said, you have no idea what this is. I like literally was that aware at that young of an age. I'm like, you really have no idea. And I felt like from that point forward, like I kind of was gonna have to find my own way going into this 21st century technology world. And luckily I had a father who had the foresight that this was 1983. 1983, I was in fifth grade going into sixth grade, and my father got me my first home computer. And I was the first person in my friend's circle to get a home computer. That by the time I got into seventh grade, which was middle school, and we were actually offered a computer class for one quarter, one little sort of quarter of the year, to be able to have some experience with the computer, that I actually in seventh grade knew more than the teacher did. And he was teaching like everybody for their final project had to do that hello world. And I was sitting there doing a text adventure. I did like a 9-room text adventure where you had to go in there and you had to find your way through it, and you had to find this one thing and you had to bring it to this other thing, and you had to put them together, and then you had to bring it through this opening to get out of there. And so like you know but it's you gotta detach. You gotta have the courage to detach from the system. All right, and the ability and you know confidence that you're going to find your way, and you're okay falling down, and teaching people how to fall down, how to fail, I don't think we teach people how to fail enough. I don't like. I believe that competition is healthy, but we push people on winning, but we don't teach people how to lose. You know, it's like losing is a bad thing. And I think most of the biggest lessons that I've learned have come through losing or falling or failing. And it's just so many of these little fundamental things that I think you know that get missed, in the education system, where everything is just so standardized and cookie cutter. But then again, you got to remember that the entire education machine that we know of, or at least that I grew up with, was created by the Rothschilds. And the Rothschilds created the education system to be able to be a machine, to be able to create proper workers that were able going to work in the industries to be able to support the wealthy companies. And that's the only importance that was there. Free thinking was not encouraged. It wasn't about free thinking. It was about you learning how to operate machinery, or you learning how to be a good cog in the machine, and you not being somebody that was going to rock the boat per se. And, you know, I think we've moved away from that, but I think we've also gotten too far into chaos where we have failed to be able to teach people how to focus and function properly, and being able to function with the chaos, of everything needs to be like perfect, and you know this, that, or the other. And so, wow, this has been fantastic. Which designs? Your designs or the designs that I do? Um, where are we pointing that statement? Um, a lot of what I do in my artwork, a lot of those hexagons that you see are, and not just with the stories behind them, but with the technique that is within them, that I show in there, is within it the tools for people to be able to teach themselves how to do that. You know, I've always, and it's why, like when I first started, here's another part of my creative process, going all the way full circle back to the beginning, is when I first started learning how to paint when I was 32. Well, actually, it started around 28. It wasn't until 32 when I was like, you know what? This is me. This is my voice. I need to harness this energy out of the canvas. When I first started learning and using the mandalas as a tool, I realized how important it was, and how important that it needed to be taught to others, because the mandala, um, was a playground that allowed me to be able to grow and learn and explore on the fly. And when you get into your 30s, it's like, I'm too old to learn something new. I can't go back and go to 4 years of college. I mean, I need to figure this out as I go. And the mandala became a tool where that it was able to teach me within 3 to 4 years of just playing with it on the side. I learned how and taught myself how to paint. And I was very adamant from the early part to start documenting it and letting myself be vulnerable and out there. And LiveJournal just came on the scene, and Facebook was still out, was still maybe about 2 or 3 years ahead. Um, but like I started being like, all right, be vulnerable, let people see my mistakes, let people see my struggles, be okay with that, be comfortable with that, because that's what I felt was missing when I was learning how to paint. When I was learning how to paint, and this was the late 90s into the early aughts, uh, you know, Everything was, all you saw were the final pieces in either the galleries or the museums. And you had no idea. You basically, the impression was artists were born with this. They just poop this out their butts. All right. They just do it and it's magic and it just happens. You're not shown the process. You're not shown the creative process. And I felt like in the 80s and the 90s and the early aughts, that was so missing in the education of the creative process was the being comfortable with the vulnerability and being able to, show people the learning part of it, showing people the learning process of the creative process, and and not just being this magic thing that just happens at the end and then people just buy it and nobody knows how to do it. Because I think it's integral that we all learn how to do this stuff. And the only way, like, so I felt like I needed to put myself out there in the ways that was missing when I was going through it, so that the people that were coming and anybody that was coming up behind me would have these breadcrumbs that they could follow and rise up. Again, teach every generation, making the next generation better. Teaching that was the thing that my grandfather always taught into me. Every generation's responsibility is to teach the other generation how to be better. How to take what you've learned and push it further. And that's always stuck to me. And so, like, part of the creative process is being vulnerable and letting the learning process reveal itself through that. And I've always tried to have that as a part of my my painting and expressing myself on social media. Show people my mistakes, show where I screwed up, show where I struggled with, show how I start the painting, how I go through the mid part of the painting, how I finish the painting, how I take those paintings and be able to make a business out of it. That's the another part of the creative process, is how to make it a prosperous process. You know, and there's all of the different processes of it. There's practice, there's process, there's production, there's prosperity, and there's professionalism. There's all of these different parts to it that, especially if you want to be a professional artist, it's practice, process, production, professionalism, and prosperity. Those were the five key pieces that I put into it. And I did my last name is Profit. So I use, like, so I can remember it. I you put it into a construct that helps you remember it easier, so you don't struggle with it because when you're deep in the heart of something and you're struggling and you're in that valley, you want to be able to have the information that you need to be able to get through, to be able to be easily on hand so that you can get it when you need it and you can use it to get through it. So whenever I felt like I was lost, or I felt like I was struggling, or I was a failure, or I was depressed, or I was in a creative doldrum where all of the wind of my sails was out and I couldn't produce anything, I had to take all of the different parts that I felt were part of what I was trying to be, and I put it into that fabric: process, practice, production, professionalism, and prosperity. Typically, if you do the first four solidly, that fifth one, prosperity, kind of takes care of itself, and you just kind of steer the vessel. So ultimately, that's what I want to teach. All right. The problem that I had is I did not learn how to paint traditionally, so I don't know how to teach somebody traditionally how to paint. I had to figure it out on my own. I had to architect the hell out of it, and luckily I had the architectural schools skills to be able to go in there and to be able to create a structure of, okay, this is like, I need to do this, 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 and this. This is how I'm going to do it. It's like I'm building a house. I'm designing a house. I'm designing a vehicle for being able to teach myself along the way and learn how to do that. And so I can teach people how to paint the way that I paint, and and it's a little bit different. But what I feel where my like Robbie, where you say you know where your destiny is in teaching children. I feel my destiny is in being in a place where I'm there for the amateur that's ready to make the leap into the professional world, and being able to show them and give them the tools and guide them of what to expect and how to do that, and put it in the fabric that they're going to be able to remember easily, and it will be able to guide them, and not necessarily be you need to do this on the canvas, and this is the way that it needs to be, and you need to use this technique, and you need to use these paints. I don't want to get into that. I want to be able to say, okay, you've got this, your weakness. Okay, you need to work on your website. You need to work on your social media. You need to develop your portfolio. You need to develop this. You need to exercise this. These are the tools that you need to put into place that are going to be able to make that better for you. All right. How do you do a art market? I don't do art markets anymore. I think art markets are a waste of time. I think they're great for some people. I think some people take well to them. I have just learned that I don't want to do art markets. What I do is I find spaces that I can come and I can paint live, and I can just talk to the audience and talk to the people that come up, and not be in a state where I have to feel like I have to hard sell. I have to make $1,000 to pay for my booth. I have to have all of these products that I have to carry with me. I have to set up the booth. I have to sit in that booth. I don't like that. I did that for 6 years, and like I didn't like it. So what I do now is I paint live at different music events, and I've created a social network to be able to funnel everybody to my website and let them purchase and do everything like on a as needed order process, rather than making 100 prints of this, 100 prints of that, carrying this, carrying that, because I realized, because I was about in my late 30s, where I'm like, I'm not going to be able to sustain this into my 40s and my 50s. I need to find a better way to be able to promote myself. So I just, got wind of the idea of painting live at events. And because then people see the process, I can show people the process, I can talk to people about the process. And I just basically take an aspect of my studio and I bring it into the public, and I have some items for sale. Just keep it all easy. Everything fits down into 2 bins where I can move everything in maybe like 3 like trips to get everything from my vehicle into where I need to be, and focus on just being there to talk to the people. And anyhow, that's a little sidebar, but that's where I feel my strength in teaching is being able to teach people how to make the steps from amateur into professional, and how to create and take that creative process and put it in a way where you do it efficiently and it can sustain you and itself. Because that is a trick and an art form unto itself. So, how to promote yourself, how to present yourself, how to speak, how to put your work into a vehicle that people can see it easily, quickly, because, and this is going to go for your books as well. This is going to, like, when you go out there and you want to sell your books, your product needs to get into the eyes of the person 8 times on average before they will make a purchase. That's cool. I'm coming to the end of today. Okay, I'm coming to the end of today. I typically do this for an hour, 11 o'clock Eastern times on Saturdays and Sundays. It just depends on if I'm traveling or where I'm at. I go back and forth between an Atlanta studio and a Colorado studio. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. because I'm getting ready and packing because I'm getting on the road to go to the Colorado studio. However, I will be back next weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So please come with these great questions. I love this. And you have been amazing in the audience. And I am very grateful to have had you today because I honestly didn't know what to talk about. And that's how it is. So, and I've always want these things to feel natural and on the fly and unscripted, and I want the audience to be able to guide it because I think that's what's important. You know, I am a source of information. I'm making myself available for an hour or two on the weekends, and maybe coming soon on Wednesday nights in a more I'm on the canvas kind of way. Um, but we shall see. So you have a beautiful weekend, and I am gonna go ahead and I am gonna probably sign off because I've got a 1 o'clock meeting I need to get to today, and then I got to come back and I have to start packing. So gift cards are available on my website if you want to give the gift of me to anybody and you don't quite know where to go and they can just jump into the story any way that they want. It's a triple gift because I will give you stickers for the gift cards. I will send you stickers for purchasing those gift cards. And then I've got some more things that I'm going to be putting up on social media and on my website this week to be able to help support me. I'm about to be starting the second season of this creative coffee stuff. So that will be starting next month, will be the beginning of season 2. And the season goes all year with 4 different segments: winter, spring, summer, fall. So we're coming to the end of fall of the first season, the first year, and you all have a beautiful day.